From seeking the death penalty to out-of-control political division. Now, more than ever, listen every day to your 100,000-watt talker. The new Freedom 96.9. Freedom
Weather.
Here's your Oklahoma City AccuWeather forecast. This afternoon, expect a mix of clouds and sun with a thunderstorm possible, reaching 90. Watch for gusty winds and small hail with any storm. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a heavy thunderstorm dipping to 65. Tomorrow, clouds will clear for some sun, breezy and cooler with scattered storms hitting 83. Monday brings a chance of severe thunderstorms in the afternoon, otherwise breezy and very warm with a mix of sun and clouds, highs near 90. Tuesday will be sunny to partly cloudy, breezy and humid, highs around 86. With your Oklahoma City AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
We interrupt our program with a special bulletin.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are solely those of the speakers and other contributors. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of this station.
Broadcasting live from the Command Center of Freedom 96.9 in Oklahoma City, it's McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma, saving lives, protecting property, fortifying Oklahoma, one roof at a time. I'm Rick Allen Lippert here with Hague Certified Master Level Damage Inspector, Oklahoma Licensed Public Adjuster, Fortified Evaluator, and IBHS Fortified Roofing Contractor, Scott McCullum.
Hey, good morning, sir.
Hague Certified Wind and Hail Residential Roofing Inspector Scotty McCullum is out in the field today. We'll have him back next week, eh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Retro Radio Randy is running the show today, and you know what, folks? He is off probation.
And I have
wow.
idea how to handle this.
This is dangerous.
I don't know what to say.
We'll see if he behaves himself today. But you can still talk to him when you call.
Let's call timeout. Let me call FCC real fast.
They know where I live.
Folks, you can call 405-608-4377. We're live streaming today on the McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma YouTube channel. Scott's waving at you right now. You can also hear us on freedom969.com. We'll start, as usual, with our trivia question and other interesting tidbits, including the word of the week. And this week, I'm curious about this because I know in theory what the word is, but I'm curious how it's used in your practice.
Well, there are implications there.
Okay, again, that phone number to answer the trivia question or to just ask a question, 405-608-4377. Since Scotty's not here, we get to hear Scott's view from the rooftop later in the show. It's titled Freedom Indeed. Mm-hmm. And we'll have some After the Storm tips brought to you by Roof RX, and we'll wrap up with Dad's Wisdom. Coming back from breaks, of course, we'll have some official obscure historical trivia. Now, guys, I went all week without any reminder of any kind to read the disclaimer I'm supposed to read, until I opened the door this morning when I got here early to sign on the station. Taped to the coffee pot, there it was. The note that read, remember to say that S&CM LLC, doing business as McRoof.us, legally operates under Oklahoma registration number 8000002, and that the registration applies to both residential and commercial roofing. Inside the station, on the coffee pot.
Isn't that trespassing?
Could be. I mean, he's
criminal. Criminal trespass.
He's the attorney, and he didn't even make the coffee. I still had to make the coffee.
Oh wow!
Now you call the FCC.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, Scott, let's get started with our trivia question, shall we?
All right, let's give it a shot. So, recent legislative changes to property insurance laws in the state of Florida. The state of Florida have resulted in what? Increased competition, new carriers entering the market in Florida. That sounds kind of lower premiums. We haven't seen those in a while, have we, Rick?
No.
Or all of the above.
Okay, if you think you know the answer to that, give us a call, 405-608-4377. Again, the trivia question, recent changes in the property insurance laws in Florida have resulted in what? A, increased competition, B, new carriers entering the market, C, lower premiums, or D, all of the above. 405-608-4377. If you get it right, you get your choice of either two books, Raving Fans or Unreasonable Hospitality.
One of two books.
One of two books. Yeah. Or a Lowe's $25 gift card, or 2 free tickets to any Carpenter Square Theater production this season. And I will say that the current production that opened last weekend, Intimate Apparel, is going strong. Beautiful show. I will be there tomorrow for the matinee, but it runs tonight and again next weekend. And I should also mention that Thursdays are half price for adult tickets.
There you go.
Okay, and we have someone on the line right now. Nick is wanting to give us a shot at the trivia question.
Nick answer the trivia question before we even do the word of the week?
Yeah, how about that? Hey, Nick, what do you think is the answer to the question? Let me repeat it for those who just may be tuned in. Recent changes in property insurance laws in Florida have resulted in increased competition, new carriers in the market, lower premiums, or all of the above?
I'm going to have to say all of the above.
Wow, Nick. Okay, now, Nick, I got to ask you a question. Are you an attorney?
Yeah.
Are you an attorney?
No, I used to live in Florida, so I know the house. I have some friends in Florida that know that have taught me about the housing market down in Florida.
Got you.
When it comes to building roofs and whatnot.
Got you. So these legislative reforms absolutely have driven increased competition. You have new carriers entering the marketplace, so obviously that's that competition. You have rate adjustments, which are downward rate adjustments, which the state of Florida hasn't seen in a number of years. Been very, very rapid growth and escalation in premiums and rates. And you're also seeing that the number of carriers in the state is going up for the first time in a long, long time. There's been a mass exodus of carriers from the state of Florida for the last several years. So absolutely, Nick, you got the trivia question right. You have any other questions for us while we got you on the line?
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
Hey, Nick.
Question. I want to try.
Stay on the line, so let Randy get your information so we can give you the prize of your choice.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks for calling in.
All right. Thank you, Nick.
Wow.
All right. So
first rattle out of the box, as they say.
Pretty darn good. But that doesn't mean that people still can't call and ask a question.
Absolutely.
405-608-4377.
You know, and some people may have questions about, well, Scott, what are you talking about? What's going on in Florida?
Yeah, I wondered about that too.
We had my good friend Chris Meredith in, who is candidate for insurance commissioner in the state of Oklahoma, and Chris alluded to some of the things that are going on legislatively and through the administration of insurance throughout the United States, and we have to look at everything that's going on and look for places that have compelling stories to tell about what can be. And that's what Chris is looking at. He's looking at the successes in the state of Florida and where those come from. And we talk all the time on this show about collaboration. You have to have collaborators. You have to have the legislation. You have to have the regulators, the people that have oversight. You have to have the carriers and the consumers and the contractors and the adjusters. Everyone's working together in this, and they will come up with a better way of doing this that serves everyone's needs. So that's positive in the state of Florida. We talk about the successes in Alabama, Louisiana, and Florida with the Fortified program. That's hugely collaborative. That's what we're talking about. So the reason we're talking about changes taking place legislatively in the state of Florida is because there may be some things there that we in Oklahoma need to look at, present to our legislators, and start to drive that same agenda.
Yeah.
That's why.
Sounds good to me. We have a couple of minutes before we have to go to break, so let's get to the word of the week.
Okay, the word of the week this week is 2 words: fee shifting.
Fee shifting. Well,
Shifting.
obviously that just on its surface would mean you move a fee from one place to another, probably make somebody else pay it.
Sounds kind of like he's a smart guy.
Well, I'm a real smart feller.
Yeah. Okay.
But how? So I'm curious how that works in the roofing restoration
Well, and remember
industry.
that I'm always trying to tie our trivia question to our word or words of the week in some way.
All right.
So fee shifting provisions. This is a legal clause that allows the prevailing party in a lawsuit to recover attorney's fees and costs from the losing party. This deviates from the standard American rule where each party typically bears its own legal expense. Part of the legislative reform in Florida
All right, here we go.
that has led to the improvements in the marketplace, the competition, the lowering of rates, the better outcome for consumers trying to buy insurance, part of that legislation was the limitation on the attorney's abilities to recover all of that. It shifted that expense back to the consumer side of things, the attorney side of things for the plaintiff, okay, as opposed to the insurance company having to bear all of that expense, all right? So when it shifted that, number one, when you know that you may not recover all of that or be able to recover it, that limits the number of lawsuits that are actually being filed.
Okay.
Okay. And when you limit what can be recovered, that gives the insurance companies a certain amount of certainty as to what their potential cost might be, therefore allowing them to work all that into their actuarial and everything else and determine what their ultimate cost on a claim might be, resulting in, if the cost is lower, it's going to result in a lower loss ratio, lower expense ratio, and potentially be able to get rate reductions for consumers. That's what this is all about.
Well, I hope we can explore more of this after the break.
Maybe we'll have an attorney call us this morning.
Boy, that'd be
and
really
tell
great.
me what I don't know about what I'm talking about.
And if you're an attorney and you know a thing or two about fee shifting, give us a call, 405-608-4377. We're live in studio on Freedom 96.9, McRoof Fortifies, Oklahoma. We'll be right back.
I don't want to be like every other roofer. I don't want to get up tomorrow morning and not know what it is that I believe is the best product for my consumers to be exposed to.
When I first arrive to a home, I want to meet the homeowner. I want to figure out what their situation is. I want to know the details of the roof, anything they know about. If they have their policy on hand, I want to review it with them right there. I never like to walk away from an inspection where the homeowner is confused.
We really prioritize the familiar aspect of our business. We treat people as if they are family. Sales is just one-dimensional, but solutions is much more comprehensive. It involves a lot more factors, and trust is the number one thing that we have to establish early on in the process.
If you can trust your roofer, you can trust the roof that's put on your house. You can trust it to not leak, you can trust it to last a long time, and you can trust there's value with the relationship that you have with your roofer.
It goes far beyond what a normal roofing company would do. We really want people to feel like they can contact us if they need anything.
We have people in our client base who will call my son or who will call me to do something for them before they will call their own children, because we have treated them like someone who we cared about and that we would do anything in the world for if the opportunity presents itself. That's what I hope people will say about McRoof, is that we cared about them as human beings.
They deal with the insurance company for you, which is so nice and helpful.
One of the most important things that I prioritize is setting the right expectation, what they can expect from their insurance carrier, what ducks need to be lined up to make sure their project reaches the outcome that they desire.
I'm on the phone most of the day, talking with insurance companies, trying to resolve a claim that has not been paid correctly. We don't give up.
They were able to come out and give a full, in-depth inspection. That process ultimately led to a doubling of the claim.
He probably got me, at least on this roof, $50,000 more by my calculation than I would have gotten with the other roofers.
It goes far beyond what a normal roofing company would do. We're going to do it right.
McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma back on the air on live Saturday morning on Freedom 96.9. On this date in 1664, the colony of Maryland passed the first anti-amalgamation law. Now you may be wondering, what in the heck is an anti-amalgamation law? Well, that stopped the intermarriage of English women and black men. And then on this date in 1814, a poem originally called Defense of Fort McHenry was published as a song.
Mm-hmm.
And the song became the Star-Spangled Banner, which eventually made its way to become the U.S. national anthem. But the song was first published on this date in 1814.
Wow. Rick, I want to finish up. We were talking about legislative reforms
in
Florida. We were talking about fee shifting.
And fee shifting.
Legislative reforms, the recent reforms, have improved the market in Florida by eliminating the statutory attorney's fee shifting provisions for property lawsuits, reducing litigation costs, and providing a more stable, some certainty for insurers.
Okay.
That one change in Florida legislation has significant impacts in the improvement in that marketplace. So
okay, help explain this to me, Ricky. Does that mean the homeowner will bear the cost of the lawsuit if they have to sue the insurance company?
I'm not an attorney, number one. I'm not a law professor, number two. I haven't studied the Florida statute, number three, but I will tell you that my assumption is that it basically returns things to the American standard, which is that both parties bear their own expense.
Pay their own way.
Yes.
Because I know
that would be, common sense would tell me that's where it went, but I don't know that for a fact.
Because, we hear in news stories all the time where someone sues someone else, and part of what they want are the attorney's fees.
Yeah.
But they have to ask for that. That has to be part of the suit.
Right.
Anyway, excuse me. You took a road trip this past week.
Well, we took a few road trips this past week, so I'm not going to get into my Freedom, Oklahoma road trip because that's going to be my view from the rooftop.
Okay.
But I will tell you that we've also been to Lake Eufaula this week.
Wow.
And,
the opposite direction.
The opposite direction, yeah. Put some miles on the old trucks this week and kind of wore the crews and the teams out, but we got a lot of work done too, so that's a good thing. But we're going to we'll be in Enid here in a week or so. A couple big jobs up there, and then we've got we'll actually be going to Arkansas here, and all of this stuff really, folks, is everything's relationships. The trip to Freedom. Those folks have been my client in Norman, Oklahoma for the last 15 years. All right.
Nice.
And bought a place out in Freedom. The folks down in Lake Eufaula, both two different houses down there. Both of those are, one is our good friend Mr. Bush from Edmond, and the other Mr. Kaufman from Oklahoma City. They've been my customers for 15 years as well. Happen to have properties down there, so. The deal in Arkansas is a direct referral from a friend of mine who's in the restoration business, had a problem claim with this particular client, couldn't get anything done. We got it done in a heartbeat, and now, of course, they want us to go do the work. So
very nice.
Anyway, that's how that all works.
Well, let's see what, since you mentioned Freedom, hang on, Scott. Hang on. Oh, no. Okay, Scott, you went to Freedom, Oklahoma this week.
I
and
did
you have
go
a
to
story
Freedom.
that you call Freedom Indeed.
And it was, I got to tell you, there are still parts of Oklahoma that I have not been to. I had been to Woodward, but I hadn't been to Freedom. All right.
Right.
And I just got to tell you, when I'm driving up there early on Monday morning, I think we left here about 4:30 or 5, and the sun's coming up, and I didn't realize the kind of canyon land that you're going through as you're heading north, and you start to see the bluffs, and you look over, and the mist is down in the little arroyos and the draws and all. It's just absolutely stunning. And so then we pull up
God's country.
We pull up to the home that we're getting ready to do the roofs on the home and the detached garage. And I park my truck, and I get out of my truck, and I start walking back towards the state highway, and just literally right across the highway drops off into kind of the canyons, and you can look out across and see the sheer stone walls, and it just reminded me so much of New Mexico, where I grew up. It was absolutely stunning, and fortunately for us, we were up there. It was cool on Monday morning. Now it got pretty toasty in the afternoon,
right?
But it was cool on Monday morning, and it was just felt like a beautiful fall day. And my client, Michelle, walked out. She says, I was standing in the front yard, and my mouth was probably hanging open. And she says, can't beat my view, can you? And I said, no, sweetie, can't beat your view. And that's literally what she goes out and sits on her front porch every morning, drinks coffee, and watches.
Sure, why not?
Absolutely.
Greatest show on earth.
So Freedom, Oklahoma, and here we are on Freedom 96.9, Randy.
Yes, sir. I'm off probation. I have nothing to say. I got no worries.
He's trying to keep from getting back on probation.
Exactly.
That's what he's trying to do.
Study hall was a very long time. So I don't want to chance that again.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, we have just under 2 minutes to go before we have to take our mid-break. Anything you want to bring up in that minute and a half?
Well, we did a lot of training again this week. We had, we thought we were going to have a rain day on Thursday, which never happened. So we had planned Thursday as a training day. We had our good friend Trevor Thompson, territory manager for Certainty Commercial and Residential Roofing, came in, did some training with crews. And I got to give a shout out to Edgar Castro. Edgar says, be sure and give me a shout out to that short, handsome roofer. So there's your shout out, Edgar, okay?
I'm glad you specified that it was Edgar, because I imagine there are a lot of short, handsome roofers.
Oh, you think so? Well, Edgar didn't think so. So anyway, but had his folks in, we did our training, and really the attitudes again, everything that we do is about trying to raise the bar, raise the level. We want our roofing crews, the people who are actually on the roofs doing the work, we want them to understand how critical what they do is, how important it is in saving lives and protecting property.
That's what it's all about. McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma, saving lives, protecting property, fortifying Oklahoma, one roof at a time. You're listening to McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma on Freedom 96.9. We'll be back for the second half of the show, the live call-in show after the news.
Protecting the First Amendment with 100,000 watts of free speech. This is the new Freedom 96.9 and online at freedom969.com. Freedom
Weather. Here's your Oklahoma City AccuWeather forecast. This afternoon, expect a mix of clouds and sun with a thunderstorm possible, reaching 90. Watch for gusty winds and small hail with any storm. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a heavy thunderstorm dipping to 65. Tomorrow, clouds will clear for some sun, breezy and cooler with scattered storms hitting 83. Monday brings a chance of severe thunderstorms in the afternoon, otherwise breezy and very warm with a mix of sun and clouds, highs near 90. Tuesday will be sunny to partly cloudy, breezy and humid, highs around 86. With your Oklahoma City AccuWeather forecast, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
We interrupt our program with a special bulletin.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are solely those of the speakers and other contributors. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of this station.
McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma, back on the air for the second half of this live call-in show on Saturday morning. On this date in 1830, the first Negro Convention of Free Men agreed to boycott goods produced by slaves. 1830. 20 years later, the slave trade was abolished in the District of Columbia. However, slavery was still allowed to continue. And then 9 years later, George Simpson patented the electric range, also known as the electro heater, a surface heated by platinum wire coil powered by batteries. Electric stove in 1859.
There you go.
That's about 100 years earlier than I thought they'd have one. Okay, let's see. You have you gave me a note about a look ahead.
Yeah.
What's in the future for McRoof or your customers?
Well, I think the look ahead is really a look at what is going on in the roofing space, the insurance restoration space. Where are we heading? And I think that the things that people really need to be aware of are some attitudes that kind of migrate throughout that space of carrier, insurance restoration, contractor, consumer. We have to get beyond the attitude of it's just a roof. We talk all the time about a roof is the second most important system in any structure after only the foundation. It is the number one weather shedding system in any structure. And when you look at call it a collapse, you talk about the crisis in the property insurance market in North America.
Okay.
That is driven by the convective storm losses that the carriers are facing. That is driven by largely, hugely, by roof claims, all right? About 75% of every roof in North America that is replaced on the back of an insurance carrier, all right? That's the reality of that.
Yeah, I can understand
Everyone, it's just a roof. There's going to be another storm, and the carrier's going to pay for it. That ship has sailed. That's not the way the game is going to be played in the future. We know that rates are going up, deductibles are going up, exclusions and limitations are going up. In other words, no matter what the insurance company pays, it will be an ever decreasing percentage of the total value of your roof. Right? That's the way the game is going to be played.
It just seems like you mentioned exclusions going up, that they keep adding more exclusions, what they won't cover.
Correct.
It's all in the fine print of the policy.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely.
And so it's incumbent upon us to read that policy, question those exclusions. If we find one we don't like, how do we overcome that?
Well, you may not have options, and that's the thing that people need to understand. This is going to be fairly universal throughout the carrier world, where you're going to see the metal exclusions, you're going to see the marring exclusions, you're going to see the actual cash value or the reduced payment amounts, the roof payment schedules, things like that. Deductibles go up because they're becoming percentage deductibles, and your values are always going up. That means your deductible is an ever-increasing deductible.
Right.
If you do or do not have ordinance or law, that's a huge implication in terms of what your out-of-pocket is going to be. So the reality of it is that when we look at it from the standpoint of saving lives and protecting property and place that kind of importance on the roof system, we have to quit dumbing it down. We have to quit commoditizing it, which the roofing industry is very, very guilty of. That is not knowing how to sell anything except the lowest price, not knowing how to sell value, not understanding value, not understanding concepts of building better, not understanding fortified, not understanding what really needs to be done to protect the consumer. All right, everything for the most part, from the roofing space is looked at from the standpoint of the roofing company's ability to make money. Let's turn it around and look at it from the standpoint of what we need to do to protect the consumer. And then the consumers need to look at it exactly the same way. Let's quit looking at how we can save money. Let's quit looking at how we can cheapen this or make this of less value in terms of the protection that it provides us. Let's take the opportunity that we have. We'll pay our deductible. We'll put in any additional funds that we can afford to put in to build the absolute best roof that we can build when we have that opportunity. And we're going to require that we have a contractor that has credentials, that has technical competency, that has the capability to deliver a roof built the way that it's supposed to be built. That means they have knowledge of building codes. They have manufacturer's credentials. They have been trained by a manufacturer in the installation of their products and the use of their products in building systems roofs. We're going to get to a place where fortified is not going to be something that just a few people have heard about. It's not going to be an afterthought. It's going to be the go-to-market. I talked to a good friend of mine who's an evaluator in Alabama for the Fortified program. He's the second largest evaluating company in the United States for IBHS Fortified.
Okay.
All right. And he told me that, Scott, when we started building fortified roofs in Alabama 12 or 15 years ago, nobody knew what it was.
Of course.
We had to teach everybody how to do it correctly. They made a lot of mistakes. They tried to cheat the system. They tried to give us a picture of one little part of the roof being done correctly when everything else was done the way they always did it. And until a contractor had to pay to tear a roof off and redo it in order to get a designation, that's when the game changed. That's where we are in Oklahoma. We are teaching everyone these concepts. We are evaluating. We are improving. We are driving that competency. He tells me that today in Alabama, if you are not a fortified contractor, you are not in the roofing business because no one will talk to you.
Ooh.
That's where we need to be in Oklahoma and in Arkansas and in Missouri and in Kansas.
That's a big
and
shift.
Okay.
In
That's
perception.
that shift that occurred in 12 or 15 years. So when we talk about a look ahead,
yeah,
we need to make that happen a whole lot sooner in Oklahoma. All right. And I believe with folks like Chris Meredith, and I believe with people like me and with Avery Smith at the Oklahoma Roofing Contractors Association, and with great contractors like Edgar Castro and people like that, we're going to mainstream fortified. And when we mainstream fortified, consumers are going to be getting what they really deserve, which is the protection of life and property, and that's what we should all be about. The carriers are going to reward that. Carriers are going to reward that. Everything is not in place right now as far as this is what your discount's going to be. Everything's not lined out right now, but it is going to happen. The carriers are going to reward that. The other thing, and this is a huge shift as well, and we have these conversations behind the scenes. I'm doing the panel in New Orleans for Private Risk Manager Association in October. Inspection, repair, and maintenance. Insurance companies actually having year-over-year data to where they understand the condition of your roof year over year, where they reward the people who have an inspection, repair, and maintenance protocol in place because you as a consumer are mitigating the insurance company's risk. They're going to reward you for that. They're going to exclude people ultimately who do not have something like that in place because the carriers understand. Underwriting by a zip code. What zip code are you in? What type roof do you have? And how old is it? That is an average game that has not played out well for the insurance carriers.
Oh.
They do not know what the premium risk in that zip code is, what the average risk in that zip code is, or what the poor risk in that zip code is that they should be excluding from their book of business anyway. They average it all out and think it will all work out at the end of the day. Guess what? It has not worked out. So those are things that are coming down the road. Those are changes, things that we talk about every day, things that I'm involved in behind the scenes that consumers need to understand. We are going to what is more and more what we call a retail roofing marketplace as opposed to an insurance restoration marketplace. The roofing contractors who all they have ever known how to do is to take an insurance claim and do a roof and pay somebody's deductible and dumb everything down, they will not survive, because that out-of-pocket, again, is going to be growing every single day for every consumer. If you don't know how to differentiate, if you don't know how to sell value, if you don't know how to protect people and give them that value proven day in and day out, you're not going to be in business in the roofing business.
And with that, we'll take our final break of this morning's live program. Hey, you can still give us a call. Last call for your call, 405-608-4377. McRoof Fortifies, Oklahoma. He's Scott McCullum. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. Retro Radio Randy is able to talk on the mic today.
Hello.
Better than I am. We'll be right back. Homer Stacy was a wholesome, good American kid from Texas. At the age of 18, he enlisted in the United States Army Horse Cavalry and was stationed at Fort Bliss. Homer was fascinated with aircraft, so he went to flight school and became an Army Air Corps pilot. Homer Stacy flew a Convair B-24 Liberator, the Yankee Doodle Dandy, on November 11, 1943, when his crew, along with 31 other bombers, destroyed a ball-bearing plant in occupied France. On a return trip, a mechanical failure caused the Yankee Doodle Dandy to drop out of formation, leaving it vulnerable, and shortly thereafter, 7 German Me-109s shot down the plane near Andano, Italy. 4 crew members were killed on board, the others parachuted. 1 was captured and taken prisoner. Homer was among the remaining 5 who made it to Switzerland and returned to duty. Homer Stacy survived World War II, the Korean War, and retired after 23 years of service with many awards and commendations, including the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Purple Heart, and multiple air medals. Homer Stacy McCullum, Scott McCullum's dad. Scott McCullum is McRoof. McRoof.us is owned and operated by the McCullum family, an honorable, trustworthy red, white, and blue family. If you want to fortify your property, call McRoof.us at 405-877-4663. Ask for your complimentary roof inspection performed by a credentialed Hague residential inspector. McRoof.us, saving lives and protecting property by fortifying Oklahoma, one roof at a time. McRoof Fortifies Oklahoma back on the air for the final segment of this morning's show, 405-608-4377. If you have a question for Scott McCullum, on this date in 1884, the Equal Rights Party nominated female candidates for U.S. President and Vice President on this date in 1844. On this date in 1893, the first gasoline-powered car debuted in Springfield, Massachusetts, 1893. And then in 1964, I just couldn't pass this one up, but bear with me here, the Beatles close out their first North American tour with a New York City concert at the Paramount Theater. It was a benefit for United Cerebral Palsy of New York City. And then 5 years later on this date, John Lennon announced to George wasn't there, to Paul and Ringo, that he was leaving the Beatles on this date in 1969.
That was a sad day for Rick Lippert.
It really was.
It's a date which will live in infamy.
You guys.
And then a couple of years later on this date, Paul McCartney was busted for growing cannabis on his Scotland farm.
Can't imagine that.
What a date in Beatles history.
Come to Oklahoma, Paul.
All right, so I do want to get into the after the storm tip.
Okay,
here.
well, I want to wrap up one thing real
Sure.
fast. We were talking about look ahead.
Yes.
If anybody really is interested and wants to look ahead, I had done a podcast for insurance thought leaders with the Private Risk Management Association that you can find. You can go to privateriskmanagementassociation.org, prma.org, and I guarantee you'll be able to find a link to their podcasts on there. It was episode number 30. And we talk about all of the things that are going on specific to roofs, the response to the convective storms, the losses, the pain point for the carriers and the consumers. And we talk about a lot of this. It's about 30, 40 minutes long. You might not want to listen to me for that long, but it's actually got some stuff in there that you haven't heard on the radio. So.
Oh, how about that? So let's get Stormy here. We'll do our after the storm tip. Actually, this could be before the storm because we have a lot of weather looking at this week.
Yeah, I think that where we are seasonally, where we are on the calendar makes a lot of sense. That people really need. If you have not had that roof inspection, we have people who are calling us now who have damage from 2 or 3 years ago that are now outside of their valid loss date and will simply have to wait to have another event. Well, what probably has happened since then, we know their deductible has probably gone up, almost certainly. We know they probably have some limiting endorsement that they did not have 2 or 3 years ago. That kind of thing. And that's why we tell people when we come out and do a qualified roof inspection, we're not there to sell you anything. We're to tell you the truth about what's going on your roof. And we're doing it from a credentialed inspector standpoint, people that know what storm damage is and understand the implications in terms of what your insurance contract says and can paint you a picture so you can make a decision that's in your best interest. That's what we're there for. The qualified inspection is the starting place. There are a lot of people, these people that we're saying had damage on their roof. They need repairs. They don't need a replacement because they're not going to be able to file that insurance claim because they've missed that date. So they'll need repairs. We'll write the prescription for the repairs. And then what we do is year over year and storm after storm, we take a look at your roof again. And we tell you when now you have the opportunity, should you choose, to file an insurance claim. When we suggest to you that you have enough damage, you need to really think about filing that claim, because we have people who will say, well, I can't afford that deductible. Well, if you can't afford that deductible right now, you're sure not going to be able to afford it in a couple of years. And if you can't afford that deductible right now, you're probably not going to want to pay for the repairs and the maintenance and everything you're going to have to keep this roof in decent shape until you can file it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It doesn't get any better.
Right.
All right. It does by waiting.
Like a sewer problem.
Huh?
A sewer problem. It won't get better on its own.
It's not going to go away. Yeah,
or a dental
that's
problem.
Right. So we need to do. This is a great time right now. We're looking at roofs. We're looking at getting you through winter. We're looking at situations that you're going to have with your gutters and with the organic material and everything else that's going to start to build up on the roofs pretty quickly.
I resemble that remark.
All that kind of stuff that we have to keep off of there, getting you through winter, anything that needs to be done, and getting you into next spring storm season. That's where we are. So this is a great time to be doing that inspection protocol. Establish the baseline on your roof. Let us tell you if you need any repairs, and let us give you a recommendation if you do need to file an insurance claim.
Okay. So what about, what does I see about Grand Manor and then Landmark Pro being discontinued?
So, we talk about trends. We talk about, a look to the future. And one of the things that I've talked about for a number of years, and everybody says, no, it's not going to happen, but I tend to think it is. CertainTeed has now discontinued Landmark Pro. Landmark Pro was a very heavy version of the Landmark shingle.
Okay.
Great shingle. Okay, great shingle. Not Class 4 impact rated. But CertainTeed has discontinued that, and in the discontinuation letter, it suggests to people that an alternative shingle for Landmark Pro would be Northgate Climate Flex SBS.
Oh, the SBS technology.
I have told you guys, I have said, I believe that everything will ultimately be SBS. I say that to people like Trevor. I say that to people throughout the roofing space. They all tell me I'm crazy. But I sit here and I look at things like this, and I honestly believe, and I look at what comes from the insurance carrier side of things and the protection, the saving of lives from protecting property we can build for the consumer side of things. I believe everything will be SBS technology at some point in time. Anyway, discontinuation of Landmark Pro. I drew an arrow, SBS,
right. Yeah.
Okay, because that's where they sent you. Grand Manor, the reason I wanted to talk about this, Grand Manor has long been known, CertainTeed's Grand Manor long been referred to as the king of shingles. It is a primo, super heavyweight, tri-laminate type construction shingle, now in Class 4 impact resistant, which I asked for and pushed for, and we finally got it. That's tremendous. But Grand Manor must be installed correctly. And I am going to say to consumers, if you know that you want a Grand Manor roof, please also know that you want a credentialed Select Shingle Master company who is offering 5-star Sure Start Plus warranties to install your Grand Manor roof for you. I have a horror story right now.
Oh, do tell.
How much time do we have?
We have 3 minutes.
Okay, I have a horror story right now of a 3 or 4 year old Grand Manor roof that has failed.
Oh, no.
All right. And I'm going to suggest to you that the primary reasons are not because of the shingle, they're because of the installation methods. This roof was not installed the way it was supposed to be installed. So this consumer purchased a high dollar, premium shingle, but did not purchase a high dollar premium installation. Okay? And
because it's just nailing shingles on the roof, right?
Oh, my God.
Just hiding nails.
It's just a roof. It's just a roof.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is Rick going to be on probation next week? I'm just asking for a friend.
Yeah. So, as important as it is that the quality of the shingle that you put on your roof is, it's equally as important the quality, or actually it's more important, the quality of how it's installed.
Right.
I've said this before. I can take a crappy shingle and I can do an absolutely primo clean deck install with all the flashing details, the ice and water, the synthetic underlayments, and properly ventilated, and that crappy shingle will outperform a premium shingle that is not installed correctly. It is just that important.
And with that, I have to say one more time that the S&CM LLC is doing business as McRoof.us, and they legally operate under Oklahoma registration number 800000002, and that the registration applies to both residential and commercial roofing.
And I got to say this, CertainTeed does not have any crappy shingles, and McRoof does not install any crappy shingles.
Well, there you go. All right, Scott, time for some dad's wisdom.
Oh, my gosh, and thanks to you guys for helping me out with this. The two most, what do we say? Uncommon things, there's the word. The two most uncommon things in the world are common sense and common courtesy.
And you heard it here on McRoof Fortifies, Oklahoma. live on Freedom 96.9. We'll be back next week. Scotty McCullum should be here. Scott McCullum, you'll be back.
I bet I will.
Retro Radio Andy, you may or may not be on probation next week.
Oh, man, I'll watch my email.
Randy, you got Nick's info?
Yes, I do.
All right, Nick, thanks for calling. Everybody have a great week.
Thank you. We'll be back next week.
KQOP Enid, Oklahoma City. Freedom is our name. The new voice of Oklahoma. We're Talk Radio. Freedom 96.9.